Manchester United in the Champions League up against Copenhagen. And what they need is a win. Because after 2 defeats from their opening 2 games in the Champions League, the 2 games against Bayern Munich and Galatasaray, it is a must-win home clash with Copenhagen this evening. Talk about the background noise regards takeover on, off, and what is a takeover in a minute. Rio Ferdinand's thrown his hat into the ring in that one. And of course, with the recent events regarding the passing of Sir Bobby. But what would a group stage Champions League exit, Simon, do for the landscape and narrative regards the Erik Ten Hag era at Manchester United? Does this put this Dutchman right under the cosh tonight if Copenhagen are out of there having won?
Yeah, I think it probably does. I don't think it makes him an instantaneous target for being sacked, but I think it puts him in a very difficult position. The team haven't performed that well in the Premier League. They've got a result on the weekend, which they should have got, by the way, against Sheffield United. And if they lose in a third Champions League game, they were massively outplayed by Bayern Munich. That was a stroll. That was the most misrepresentative 4-3 game that you could ever see, because really and truly, if Bayern Munich had wanted to, they could have scored 10 if they really applied themselves. Yeah. It was not difficult for them. They were a far better side. Yeah. The Galatasaray home result is a poor result. You know, Galatasaray at home, Wilfried Zaha comes back, does what players often do when they come back. They score a goal against the opposition that they played for once upon a time. I mean, I had this conversation the other day with Ruud Gullit about Ten Hag and about the idea that Ibrahimovic floated a notion, didn't he, the other day on Piers Morgan's show, that this guy doesn't know how to manage big players. It's one thing managing Ajax in the Eredivisie. It's another thing coming into the Premier League, the dominant league in terms of finances, and the elite managers around the world all seeming to land there. And there was a question in my mind. Ibrahimovic said, I don't think he's used to experiencing that sort of player. I made the observation a year ago that I thought he was a small man in a big suit, and that was really about the stature of the man and ability to be able to convey his messaging. I then levelled the accusation to Ruud Gullit about the arrogance of the Dutch and the conversation that we had about that. And he felt that Ten Hag needed time, that he had the ability to manage at this level, and they needed time to be able to develop.
Gullit backs him?
Not so much backs him, doesn't go against the idea that it takes a time to acclimatise. It's one thing managing in Holland, it's another thing managing in this sort of environment. I don't know with Ten Hag. My gut feel, and I think you've got to stick with it, even if the evidence at certain times contradicts it, is that Ten Hag is going to struggle to achieve clearly and surely what Manchester United must want, which is an ascent back to the top, to the position they once occupied. Yeah. And I look at it and I think to myself, to do that, you've got to overcome Guardiola and you've got to overcome Klopp. And I don't think Ten Hag's in that bracket. And that means that Man United have not only got not good enough behind the scenes, not good enough on the pitch, there's potentially the argument not good enough in the dugout. Now, if he's given a lot of time to acquire those skills and he's given a significant period of opportunity, good transfer windows, a change of direction behind the scenes, then maybe he gets a chance. But you start going out of the Champions League. I don't ever like to micromanage things. I prefer to look at them in the macro terms and go, where does it end up? Where are we heading toward? But you get booted out of the Champions League after losing 3 games in a row, and I don't think they will tonight. I don't think they'll lose tonight. But if they were, then you can clearly understand why people are starting to go, there's not a lot going on here that's particularly positive.
Well, exactly. Hence, pressure would evolve on his shoulders.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the TalkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. TalkSPORT.